Borrow Lenses is the official equipment sponsor for 105 Conversations.
This is Jeff Kell with another episode of 105 Conversations. We have another espresso cup today. Can you tell me who you are and why you're here?
Gary Shapiro, I'm president of the Consumer Electronics Association, and I'm here at South by Southwest for lots of great reasons. One, it's the energy and excitement of technology and culture all in one place. Second, our association is a little bit like South by Southwest. We produce a trade show, the International CES, the world's largest innovation event. And also, I'm here to learn. It's a great opportunity. Oh, and of course, I have a book our association produced called Ninja Innovation, which is really about great ninja ideas for becoming a great innovator.
So to dive right into education, if you could solve education in 3 steps, how would you do it?
Well, education is becoming solved. It's becoming personal, it's becoming customized, and people learn different ways, obviously. Some are audio, some are video, some are hands-on, and we're figuring that out, and we're going to keep getting data as a society and becoming better. Obviously, there's been a huge shift in education as we go from a kind of analog one-to-many world to the internet, where we're really going out and you get what you want at your pace. And as we get feedback loops and as we figure out what works over the next 10 or 20 years, it's going to be radically changing, which is very, very important.
So running such a big technology show, tell me about the future of tech. You see it before everyone else sees it, so can you tell me where we're going?
Well, we're still babies crawling right now, and soon we'll be standing up and running. But basically, technology has a phenomenal future. It will change the world in so many ways. Some of the things are clear, we're in a clear path to. Others, I don't have a clue. The clear paths are robotics, nanotechnology, 3D printing, the driverless car, machine-to-machine communication, wireless health. All those are real things which are going to fundamentally change our lives, our economy, our structure. Some will add jobs, some will take away. The things I can't predict, whether there'll be a cure to cancer, things like that, I think there will be. One of the great things actually in Obamacare is there'll be a sharing of information and treatments, which will be very, very valuable in terms of coming up with solutions to how people are sick and how they get treated, tie that into their genetic structure, things like that. So although we think we're at the advanced world of technology, we are babies just learning how to crawl, and every generation, it's almost logarithmic, will have more information to improve lives, health, education, security, communication, and everything else that's valuable about life. But ultimately, though, despite having said that, it really comes down to face-to-face interactions. An event like South by Southwest or CES or another conference or meeting with someone where you could shake their hand, evaluate them, use your 5 senses, see, smell, taste, touch, and then you could really form an opinion of a company, a person, and determine whether you want the relationship. So as much as I love technology and innovation, the human touch will not go away.
So let's say, there are kids born every day, but let's say a kid's born tomorrow, and on his or her 20th birthday, what do they have to look forward to?
That's a great question. So 20 years from now, when my own son will become 21, hopefully they'll have a better world that's peaceful, fewer people are sick and fewer people are hungry. But basically, I think where we are now is that the technology has to learn what we like. And one of the great inventions, in my view, was the TiVo, because the TiVo would learn about your preferences. And my TiVo definitely thought I was gay. And that's just not a joke, that's a reality. It really did. And as in my Facebook page in the beginning, because I supported causes like that. But that's just primitive. The nav systems now in your cars, they don't really understand that there's shortcuts and things have changed and ways you like to go. But I think there's room for all these technologies to learn about you as a person, what you prefer, what you like. So everyone will have, in a sense, their own personal shopper, their own personal teacher, their own personal helper. There'll be I really believe that robotics will emerge to a point that there'll be companions for older and sick people that will really help them and respond to them. And also, hopefully, they have a 21-year-old 20 years from now will have a future where they're not concerned about such tragic disease like Alzheimer's and cancer and things like that. So all those things are real and they're possible, but we can't lose the human element, the human interaction, the importance of relationships, and the importance of ethics and doing what's right and doing what's good, and that's very, very important.
What's the biggest problem youth is going to face in the next 20 years?
The biggest problem we will face in youth will face in the next 20 years. Oh, that's an easy one. If they're an American, it's clearly the fact that this generation of Americans, my generation, has made promises to ourselves that we cannot keep. It's very sad, but it's just sheer numbers. And whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, disability, unemployment insurance, 1,000 other programs in government, we cannot pay for them, so we're borrowing from the future youth. And they will, at least in the United States, they will be debtors that will be huge. I mean, as of today, 2013, just today's budget, we are actually spending more on the 4 programs than we get in revenue: the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and one other. And so that means we're spending so much more. And the youth, ironically, have not quite figured it out yet, but that will be their biggest problem.
If you could tweet a piece of advice to my generation, what would it be?
Wake up. Smell the roses, get engaged politically. Certainly social issues are very, very important, but in reality, what makes a nation and saves a nation from going to 3rd tier, 4th tier, which where we're heading, is the fact that you have enough money to invest for the future. And we don't have that money now. We're squandering it on stuff to make us feel good, like first-time mortgage buyers and cash for clunkers and all sorts of tax cuts for everyone. And you know, we're just gotten crazy in terms of benefits to a lot of people who shouldn't be getting them. So you better wake up, because my greedy geezer generation has stolen your future, and you should be up, you should be demanding, you should be taking to the streets and getting political leaders in who are going to make tough decisions about what we're spending today, because that is absolutely critical. Otherwise, you're screwed. I'm sorry, but that's where you are, and it's a big issue.
So tell me about this book. You know, it's got innovation in the title. Innovation gets me all excited. Tell me what you're trying to achieve with it.
So Ninja Innovation combines concepts. Innovation is good because when you're in tough financial trouble, you could raise taxes, you can cut spending, or you could grow. Growth comes from innovation, and our best hope in the next generation is we'll innovate so much that our economy will grow and it will take care of some of the problems I was just talking about. Being a ninja is a different thing. It's a mindset. Ninjas were ancient warriors in Japan who were outmanned, outpowered, outgunned, outspent, but the ninjas won because they created a team. They were flexible, they were fast, they were smart, they were clever, and they thought outside the box. And that's what we as Americans are really good at doing, is thinking outside the box and innovating and creating. While other countries have better test scores based on rote memory, we are the best at creating. We're the best. We dominate in the internet, we dominate in movies and the arts and entertainment. We're really great with semiconductor chips and design and great companies. So that's who we are as Americans, and we should play on that. I also think being a ninja is a mindset that you could teach children and companies and governments. My kids, definitely, we always talk about a ninja solution, which is a third way of doing something. Not one of 2 choices, but a different way that solves a problem, that creates an opportunity. As an employee, you can do the same thing. You could solve the problem, break down the brick wall. Don't say that there's a wall there. Go over it, jump under it, go into a parallel universe, use a pole vault. Solve the problem, and that's what ninjas do, and that's what we're good at as Americans. And I think if we recognize what we're good at, we'll have strategies which will meet that. So strategies are great. Favor innovation, be clever, be creative, and that's what Americans are really good at, is thinking outside the box. You know, our laws have gotten a little fuzzy, so if you think outside the box, you might get in trouble. That's not a good thing. We have to change the laws to make them clear, so there's illegal and there's legal behavior. People like Aaron Swartz have given their life up because, why? You know, this guy was an innovator. He ended up being prosecuted by federal authorities, facing 30 years in jail for simply downloading something and not hurting something. That's the kind of tragedy we have to avoid again, and we have to focus on the fact that if we want to raise the next nation in growth of innovators, we have to encourage that, talk about it, think about it, make it part of our national vocabulary. And I have to say, everyone from President Obama to the Republicans in Congress at this point agree that innovation is, can be, should, and will be our national strategy.
So you're talking a lot about politics. How can we achieve a more down the middle approach where everybody's heard?
Well, I think people have to be heard. I mean, we saw with Pippa and Sopa last year that when American youth figured out the internet would be taken away from them by a few copyright people pushing a law which was ridiculous, they took to the streets literally, and 5 million people contacted Congress in less than a week. That made a difference. We need to encourage our politicians to do things differently and to be loyal to the country rather than to their parties. Right now, you have to vote with your party on almost everything, which is crazy. So we either need a third party, or we need to encourage members of Congress to be work together across the aisle. There's a group called No Labels, which we helped found, and it basically says you shouldn't be have a label if you're a politician. You should be willing to work across with the other party and solve our problems as a nation. And that's much more important that your loyalty be to the country rather than to either one of the two parties. So I do everything I can to support that group and also to encourage independents to run and others and get away from this bifurcation of our countries, primarily based on social issues, which is not a good thing.
What would your PR team tell you not to tell me?
What would my PR team not to? Well, they told me not to do this, so I'm going to do it. So this is what ninjas do. You know, they think outside the box. They put on a really cool heading, and there, you know, I'm a ninja innovator because I do have a black belt in karate, and I'm proud of it. And I worked on it, and that's what I think we have to do as a country.
So, what inspires you? What do you think would inspire my generation?
Well, what inspires me, honestly, is the fact that I have a kid that's almost a year and one that's almost 5. And I'm worried about their future. I'm an older parent, and that's a very, when you're an older parent, you think about it more, because I will not be alive for most of my kid's life. And so I owe them something, you know, beyond just money or whatever assets I could try to accumulate and pass on to them, which I don't even know if that's a good idea. I think it's more important is that we give a society and a nation that is worthy, as every generation of Americans have before us, give a better country to the next generation, and we have failed in that regard. So that inspires me to at least go down fighting, do everything I can to change that, whether it's working on the innovation movement, on no labels, on pushing candidates to run for government that can make a difference, or pushing policies that our government has that really are obvious, like getting the best and the brightest here, like getting rid of the patent trolls, which hurt our companies and our jobs creators, like allowing free trade, like fixing our deficit. Those are the kind of things that our innovation movement focuses on, we focus on, and I am totally passionate about.
What would you say about immigration?
In terms of what has to happen with immigration, there's a total agreement between Republicans and Democrats that if we give someone a PhD in any of the STEM subjects, we should keep them here. Sadly, though, as Steve Jobs predicted when he spoke with President Obama before he died, President Obama wants to solve the whole immigration thing, and he's honestly holding this piece of it for skilled immigrants hostage for the several years while he worked this out. So that was 3 or 4 years ago. We've had the agreement. We're just waiting now for President Obama to free it. And what he's saying, we have to solve everything all at once. We're not going to solve parts of it. That is a political move. It's some will say it's a legitimate political move. So, you know, I'm trying to work with the president. I want to solve the whole immigration thing. I don't know if it can be done, but to me the most important thing is we get the people we want here. And we spend so much time talking about the people we don't want and kicking them out. I think the focus would be, who do we want here? How do we get them here? How do we get them to stay here? And that's what turns me on. Some of the other issues are much bigger than I am. I can't talk to you about agricultural and business immigration and things like that. What I could talk to you about is that our companies need smart, bright people. We are giving $7 billion a year from the National Science Foundation to our universities for great research. A huge amount of it is being done by foreign graduate students who we then kick out. So these are the smartest people in the world coming to the U.S., learning the best things, our taxpayers are paying for them, and then we kick them out so they can become competitors with us. How dumb is that? So I am passionate about changing the laws in certain areas, and that is one of them.
What legislation is vital?
We need legislation which changes the immigration laws. We're supporting the Jobs Act, which focuses specifically on highly skilled immigrants. We'll probably support, and there will be, comprehensive immigration reform. We'll support that. We're pushing additional spectrum so all our products work, and wireless broadband and wireless health can be a real part of our future. We need to do what every other country in the world has done except for us in the last few years, and that is enter new trade agreements. You know, the rest of the world is furiously cutting down trade barriers, and we're keeping ours up, which is very sad. The U.S. is falling behind. You know, we only have 5% of the world's population, so to be able to only reach ourselves with our trade is not a good strategy as well. We'll also be working on this legislation to get rid of patent trolls, which says if you are a non-operating entity, you don't produce anything, you're a foreign mutual fund and you're coming up here and buying old patents and suing people, then if you lose that lawsuit, you're paying for the other side. And that's something that is now bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats are supporting it, and we're certainly hopeful that that will pass.
If you were doing 105 conversations, who would you want to interview?
If I could only interview living people, which just cuts down a lot of the population, I would certainly go to some of the coolest, brightest people that I met, which are entrepreneurs themselves. I'd start out with some of the smaller entrepreneurs because they're making a difference in big ways. You know, the obvious ones, the Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs and things like that, are very interesting. people as well, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but they've been interviewed a whole bunch of times. So I'd be going after people who are less well known, who have insights, who think outside the box, who are making a difference, who are fundamentally have an idea and a vision of changing society or are on their way to doing it, and they are interesting to me.
So Sheryl Sandberg's got that new book, Lean In. Which women would you interview?
Well, Sheryl Sandberg is a fascinating woman. She does have a vision. I know it's very controversial the day we're speaking. I saw her on one of the morning news shows today. And she is clearly brilliant with a path. Hers was somewhat more traditional in terms of, going to Harvard and going to other things. Other women, I'm a big fan, frankly, of someone who's seen different perspective. I like Meg Whitman of eBay, if you want to talk about big names. Another great woman is Ursula Burns of Xerox. She worked her way up. She's African-American, and she's really bright and strategic. And a role model, an unusual role model. So those are the big company people. There's obviously a lot of smaller company people that are out there doing wonderful things in different ways.
If you could send one last tweet to my generation, what would it be?
Wake up. Get off your butts. Get off the social issues. We're going to get there with you, but make a difference on how our government is spending money, because us greedy geezers are eating your lunch and you will be hungry. We assume there's electricity and running water and at least some type of military and doing all these things. We can't afford it in the future if we continue to pay ourselves. Do the math. This is accurate, factual, mathematical stuff, and you are so asleep. And that was more than 121 letters, so I'll keep it to wake up, get off your butt, make a difference, save your future, invent your tomorrow.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.